Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something that's been on my radar for a while. A lot of you have been asking me about this game and I finally sat down to play it. Celeste. Now if you've been living under a rock and haven't heard of this game, you're in for a treat. Celeste is a precision platformer developed by Maddie Makes Games. At first glance, it might seem like your standard indie platformer with pixelated graphics. But trust me when I say, this game punches way above its weight in terms of gameplay and emotional storytelling. It's one of those games that I think every streamer, gamer, and anyone interested in really meaningful experiences should play. The emotional impact is so real and it hits you in ways you might not expect from what looks like a simple platformer. So grab your controllers, sit back, and let's break down what makes Celeste so special. If you've already played it, I'm sure you'll agree with me on a lot of this. If you haven't, well, after this review, I bet you'll want to check it out. Wow. Let's start with the gameplay, because that's the bread and butter of Celeste. And honestly, it's what grabbed me right from the start. Ready? Let's go. Let's try to enjoy the game. I hope the story is nice. So you're controlling Madeline, a young woman who's climbing Celeste Mountain. That's the main premise of the game. But here's the thing. Just breathe. It's not just a mountain in the physical sense. It's a metaphor for her internal struggles, which we'll get to later. Oh, I love pixels. شو هيدا? But as for the actual gameplay itself, man, it's tight. The controls are so precise. I'm talking Mario level tight. You've got your basic move, jump, and dash. But here's where things get interesting. Madeline's dash is one of the most versatile moves in the game. It's all about mastering when and where to use it. Because without it, there is no way you'd make it through some of those levels. Oh my god. Barely made it. I'll be honest, there were parts of this game where I literally had to stop and think about how I was going to approach a sequence of jumps and dashes. It's not just about jumping on platforms though. The game will throw obstacles at you that require you to chain together multiple actions in a split second. This is where you get the most rewarding feeling in Celeste. Once you get that rhythm down and start feeling like the platforming is part of you, it's an incredibly satisfying experience. This, okay. The game isn't about random difficulty spikes or punishing the player for mistakes. Instead, it gives you frequent respawns, which keeps the flow of the gameplay constant. If you mess up, it's literally a few seconds before you're back into the action, trying to tackle the next obstacle. You feel like you're constantly progressing. The difficulty is just right. It's tough but fair. The game respects your time by offering challenging levels but never feels like it's intentionally out to make you rage. Well, maybe once or twice. I love how it respects the player's skill and lets you set your own pace. You can move through the game at your own speed or go for those sweet collectibles if you're a completionist like me. One down. Now, if you're like me and you love going the extra mile in platformers, you're gonna get caught up in those strawberries. These little guys are scattered all over the levels and will tempt you into taking the most dangerous paths just to snag one. The challenge? Oh, it's real. Grabbing these strawberries is like a mini game within the game itself. Time it. You have to balance risk and reward, carefully timing jumps, dashes, and wall grabs to get those collectibles without dying. And believe me, you will die a lot trying to get them. But when you finally grab one, it's that little extra victory that keeps you coming back for more. No. Okay. And then there are the B-sides. These are the real tests of your platforming skills. Once you finish the main game, the B-sides unlock, and they remixed the original levels to make them even harder. It's like the game said, you think you're good? Let's see if you can handle this. They add new challenges, more obstacles, and more demanding timing. These levels are a grind. But if you're up for the challenge, there's some of the most rewarding content in the game. I'm not gonna lie, some of these took me hours to complete, and my hands were cramping from trying to execute all those tight inputs. But every time I finished the B-side, I felt like I've climbed a new mountain. No pun intended. And speaking of hands cramping, let me talk about the physical side of Celeste for a second. This game doesn't just challenge you mentally, it challenges you physically too. If you're going for those strawberries, tackling the B-sides, or just trying to survive some of the game's tougher sections, you're going to feel it in your hands. And I'm talking full-on finger cramps. Some of the later levels require insane levels of precision, like wall jumping, dashing, and then dashing again. And it feels like you're climbing a literal mountain with your thumbs. There were points where I had to take a break because my fingers were so sore from all the quick, precise movements. The platforming demands constant engagement with the controls, and your hands really start to feel the strain after a while. But here's the kicker. It's kind of like the game is making you feel the intensity of the climb. Like, Celeste is showing you what it's like to struggle, and when you finally make it past the tough section, there's this incredible feeling of accomplishment that makes the pain worth it. Now let's talk about difficulty for a second. I know some of you are probably thinking, oh no, is this one of those games that's going to make me rage quit? Well, yeah, you're gonna die. A lot. But here's the thing. Every time you die, it doesn't feel like a waste of time. The game is designed for you to fail. You're supposed to mess up. But what's great is that each death brings you closer to mastering the mechanics. And that's where the beauty of Celeste shines. And I gotta give props to the game's accessibility options too. As tough as it is, it does a good job of letting players tailor the experience to their needs. The assist mode allows for things like slowing down the game or adding extra jumps, which is awesome for folks who may find the game too difficult or who just want to experience the story without getting stuck on a particular challenge. As someone who does a lot of streaming, I found that having those options is a huge win. It lets everyone enjoy the game, whether you're a hardcore platforming pro or someone who just wants to enjoy the narrative without the frustration of constant restarts.
Okay, I reached somewhere.
At first glance, Celeste might seem like just another platformer where you're trying to reach the top of a mountain. But as you dig deeper, you realize the mountain is just as much a symbol as it is a location. The story is all about Madeline's internal journey, a battle with her own self-doubt, anxiety, and the weight of her personal struggles. Madeline climbs Celeste Mountain not only to physically reach the summit, but to confront the parts of herself that she's been avoiding. The deeper you get into the game, the more you realize that her climb mirrors her struggle to understand and accept herself. But it's not just Madeline's story. Throughout the game, you meet a cast of characters who each represent different aspects of the human experience, adding more emotional weight to Madeline's journey. Theo, a fellow climber, is carefree and full of optimism, bringing a lightness to the otherwise heavy narrative. He's the kind of character who reminds you that even in tough times, there's room for positivity and connection. Then there's Mr. Oshiro, the lonely, ghostly hotel keeper whose struggle with self-worth and regret adds a surreal and bittersweet layer to the game. His haunting encounter is a striking metaphor for the personal baggage we all carry, and his arc serves as a poignant reminder of the difficulty of letting go of past mistakes. And of course, we can't forget Madeline's darker, more cynical counterpart who represents her inner demons. Madeline is a physical manifestation of Madeline's anxieties and fears, and as you encounter her throughout the game, she challenges Madeline to confront the things she's been running from. Their relationship is complicated and tense, but it's also one of those most powerful parts of the story, symbolizing the need to accept both the good and the bad parts of yourselves. The emotional depth in Celeste comes not just from Madeline's growth, but from the way the game handles relationships and self-acceptance. It's a story about finding strength in vulnerability, accepting help from others, and realizing that the hardest part of any journey isn't the obstacles in front of you, it's the ones you carry inside.
It's okay to be scared. Oh. She's at peace with herself, I guess. That's what she did. She achieved something big and huge. Anxiety, yeah. Wow. Guys, I felt as if I played the last level of the game at Masa'ib.
Let's take a quick breather here and talk about the soundtrack.
Okay. We'll get the hang of it. It's okay. يلا. Guys, اسمعوا بس القسط.
If you haven't already heard the Celeste soundtrack, stop what you're doing right now and go listen to it. It's composed by Lena Raine. And every single track fits the mood of the game perfectly. Whether you're breezing through the early levels or tackling some of the game's more intense later challenges, the music is there to guide you. It's not just background noise either. The soundtrack tells a part of the story. The slow, serene tracks make the reflective moments feel more intimate, while the high-energy beats ramp up the intensity during platforming sequences. First steps, resurrections, and of course reach for the submit. These tracks will stick with you long after you're done playing. The music isn't overwhelming, but it complements what's happening on screen so well. It creates this wonderful atmosphere that pulls you deeper into the experience. Alright, so here's the bottom line. Celeste is a masterpiece. It's tough, it's emotional, it's beautiful. It's the perfect blend of gameplay and story, and it's a game that stays with you long after you finish. Whether you're here for the platforming, the story, or the emotional journey, there's something in the game for everyone. After everything, it's clear. Celeste deserves a perfect 5/5 score. From the near-flawless platforming mechanics to its emotional depth, stunning visuals, and unforgettable soundtrack, this game doesn't just check all the boxes, it completely rewrites them. Whether you're looking for a challenge, a moving story, or an experience that will stick with you, Celeste delivers on every front. It's not just a game, it's an emotional journey that pushes you to grow both as a player and as a person. If you haven't played it yet, do yourself a favor and start climbing. The summit is waiting. I think it's important to note that it's not just about completing the game, it's about growing with it. It challenges you in ways that not only test your gaming skills, but also push you to think about your own struggles and how you face them. If you've ever had a moment where you doubted yourself, where you felt like you couldn't overcome something, Celeste is here to remind you that you can. You just need to keep climbing one step at a time.
Okay.
So, folks, do yourself a favor. If you haven't played this yet, go check it out. I'm telling you, it's worth every second. And for the rest of you who've already played it, let me know in the comments or the chat what your favorite part of the game was. Alright, that's enough rambling for me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and as always, keep on climbing.
Yes!